Welcome back. With the Indian rupee and the sentiment on the street at an all-time low, how is the Hindi film industry coping with this economic change? Kya hai problems and challenges for filmmakers and stars in these difficult times? It's a discussion you don't want to miss. Studio में आज मेरे साथ हैं Viacom 18 Motion Pictures के COO अजीत अंधारे और 18 Now से सोनाली कृष्णा. Welcome to Business of Bollywood.
Thank you.
Well, given the current scenario of the dipping rupee, what do you think is the impact on filmmaking at various levels, starting with, say, shooting abroad?
I think the news there is hardly gloomy. It's good news, because with depreciating rupee, a stronger dollar, what is going to happen is all your overseas collections are going to actually look up 25 to 30% from what you originally estimated them to be. So I think that's really the good news. I think the news where you need to be careful or worry about is the films which are an import. So if you're going to be shooting a film overseas and your cost of production is largely going to be in foreign currency, then I think those productions you will need to review as to what are they going to really do, because you're looking simply at a cost escalation in the range of 20-25%.
Your take on that, Sonali?
I have a view where I think, yes, if you are shooting abroad, let's say your budget is about 40 to 60 crores. So maybe your entire budget may shoot up by, let's say, 2 to 3 crores as an additional because of the depreciating rupee, because of foreign locations. But I've also heard that these days, correct me if I'm wrong, where, in Europe and places where the economy is not that vibrant in any case, the talent there and the film industry there, so to speak, are actually giving people better deals. So at some level, it's kind of balancing off.
Yes and no, Sonali, because what happens is the deals that you're talking about have all been factored into the budget. So the way it works is that you make a budget where you factor in the deals and the barters that you will make. I don't think people would have factored in the kind of sharp rise in currency that you have seen.
No, I'm talking about the new deals, not the existing deals that have been sealed.
I think when you're going for a new production, you're getting, let's say, rebates, you're getting deals.
Sure.
As I say, you factor those in, which is the reason why you go overseas. But you will not have factored in this kind of a sharp rise in the value of the foreign currency or a depreciation in your own currency. So anything which is getting imported or getting manufactured overseas, such a sharp fall in rupee is clearly bad news.
We have a rather incisive take from the president of PVR Cinemas, Mr. Kamal Gyanchantani. Let's see what he has to say on this.
Overseas में distribution की जो revenue है, वहाँ पे आपको windfall profit होगा. जो dollar value में आपकी revenues हैं वो same रहेंगी, पर जब आप उनको convert करेंगे rupees में, वो grow कर चुकी होंगी by almost 20 to about 22.5%.
Yeah, as I said, if your overseas collections are going to clearly see a positive upswing, and especially films which have, let's say, a 10 to 20% contribution from overseas, but then there are some star-led films where the contribution can go as high as 40%. Those people, I can assure you, will certainly be laughing away all the way to the bank, because they would not have factored in this bad news actually coming as good for them.
I was wondering, do you think this is, possibly a start of a new trend in Bollywood, because they've not really been used to hedging?
Yes, you can do hedging, and yes, the rupee has fallen. But the point is that there is also a great amount of uncertainty. For instance, we have a case where 2 of our projects, we clearly knocked them off because they were getting shot abroad. So yes, they had all the positives of, deals and rebates. But with so much uncertainty, you would rather, actually solve the problem more efficiently, if rather than trying to hedge and do forward contracts on currencies and so on and so forth.
We spoke to some celebrities and producers on this. Let's see what they have to say.
If you go abroad for a schedule, then it's going to affect you because you're paying more for the rupee. But if you're here in India, it's fine. There's no issue here. If your film's selling overseas, you'll make more because you're getting more rupees for the pound or the dollar that they're spending.
Definitely for the shooting aspect of a film, it makes a huge difference. I don't know if on the recovery front it makes a huge difference, because when people are spending in pounds and dollars and it's coming back to you, I guess you're getting more in return. But it's difficult to make a film, and increasingly so. I mean, with the value depreciating more and more.
Bollywood को बहुत बड़ा नुकसान होगा, because आम तरह की जितनी बड़ी फिल्में बनती है, वो सब विदेश में जाके शूट करते हैं. How will we work? Because finally we have to arrange the money. We are going to compromise. The quality is going to get compromised, or we have to spend more. So either way it is losing.
कि जितने भी लोगों ने रेकी की थी आज से 2-3 महीने पहले, वक्त डॉलर का रेट 54 और 55 के बीच था, आज 65-69 के बीच हो गया, क्योंकि सीधा 20 to 25% माना हमारी खर्चे में फर्क आ गया है.
So the general consensus seems to be that shooting here, like you said, makes more sense.
The other, interesting thing to touch upon would be the fact that this is possibly a good time for the influx of Hollywood studios to actually look at India as, a potential location to be shooting large parts of their films, because, in any case, we're so cheap in terms of labor. But this, with the depreciating rupee, don't you think this will increase at least the influx of, Hollywood studios looking at India as a spot?
You tell me, how many films have you seen, coming out of India, which are Hollywood films, So, and again, those have been made because
definitely production, back-end work can happen here. Post-production can happen here. Because, increasingly, don't you think we're upping our infrastructure game in terms of just, coming out with very sound technology for filmmaking? I'm not saying we're the best, but I think we're on our way there. So
a lot of that is already happening here. We're on our way there, like you said.
So
that's right. So in areas such as animation or in areas such as, special effects, visual effects, a whole lot of that is already sourced out of India. So those are in fact spheres where they behave almost like IT, where the backend is already established.
Right.
So I think, yes, there of course people will try and push more towards those cheaper sources.
I think just taking that further, if you've got the content versus the biggest stars we have today, that's the kind of debate that happens at medium level. The films that have that content-driven strategy to them, whether you talk of like a Special 26 or a Madras Cafe or a D-Day, great films. They have a lot of content and it should reach wider range. But with what we have now and the conversion, you think that's going to be good for these films that don't have a Shah Rukh Khan necessarily?
But those films traditionally never did well overseas in any case. I don't think.
But don't you think that pattern is changing? These are films that are content-driven and tomorrow could be part of the big film festivals.
I think what Sonali is referring to is that some of these content-driven films, they don't see the kind of theatrical collections that some of the bigger star films see. And that's a different aspect, that has more to do with how overseas consumer behaves.
Exactly.
They tend to see these films more at home and consume it as home video.
We also have Kalki Koechlin and her take on this. Let's see what she has to say about the smaller films.
I'm worried for smaller producers, because big producers ko itna farak nahi padta hai, but obviously for smaller producers, for smaller films, budget becomes an issue. It is harder to make artistic films when there is a drop in money.
Again, as I said, it's very dependent on where are you basing the film. If you're basing the film here, I don't think the currency is going to impact you immediately in terms of your, production budgets getting impacted.
Let's go back and retouch on Hollywood. Viacom has teamed with Paramount Pictures, and Hollywood की बहुत सी films यहाँ India में release की जाती हैं. So now that the cost of acquisition, I'm guessing, has gone up, so does that affect your strategy?
Well, not really. The way we release these films are essentially on rentals, so we are not acquiring these films in that sense. So therefore, it's not that, we are going to be now acquiring it at a premium.
So on that lighter note, do you think it's about time that we look at cost cutting in a film industry then? Whether it's the exorbitant star fees or...
And I would like to second that by saying people like Viacom need to start that trend.
No, absolutely. I think in filmmaking, you don't need to look for any, good weather for cost cutting, And if currency crisis is actually a point of motivation for anyone to look at that and take a cue and, reduce costs, they're absolutely welcome. They must do so.
Sonali, who better than you to know that stars make more money from brands than they do actually from films? Do you think we should re-look into that strategy as well for them?
I have a very interesting thing to tell you about this. India is the only country where you have superstars endorsing underwears, all kinds of innerwear. Think of a Tom Cruise or a Richard Gere endorsing an underwear brand, but look at all our top stars. Every one of them endorses an underwear brand or some kind of innerwear, which is just atrocious and tells you that there is absolutely no kind of screening they do themselves as long as they're getting paid the money.
Well, like it's said that in the business of making films, the ultimate power lies with the audience. So let's now find out, speak to a few people and see if the spending priority has changed given the economic situation today.
Yeah, sure. Movies are last priority because our basic necessities are also been fulfilled. And हाँ, मूवी हमारे लिए अब ऐसा है कि अगर बहुत ज़्यादा एंटरटेनमेंट ऐसा लग रहा है कि वी आर डिप्रेस बाय लाइफ, तभी हम देखते हैं. बाकी हर रोज़ जाके जैसे सिनेमाज में बैठना या अपना टाइम स्पेंड करना, वैसा अब नहीं बचा है.
Actually, I mean, people are looking for their basic necessities rather than entertainment. Prices इतने हाई हो चुके हैं टिकट्स के, वो आदमी दो टाइम का खाना के लिए वो हो रहा है, तो मूवी क्यों देखेगा वो.
आई एम अ डाई हार्ड फैन ऑफ मूवीज, तो मेरे लिए तो नहीं.
We've got a mixed reaction there.
No, absolutely. I think what is going to happen is that at least in the short run, we may not see the impact. But if times continue like this, then you will see more people, who will actually worry about their basic necessities and certainly look at cutting their entertainment spends.
So I think it's probably safe to conclude that although the rupee may fall, the need for entertainment never will, and that probably will provide enough fodder to our distributors and producers to carry on.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us on Business of Bollywood today. It was great to have you.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.